December 5th, 1945. 5 military aircraft lifted off from a naval air station in Florida for what should have been an ordinary training mission. The weather was clear. The pilots were experienced. The route was simple. Nothing about the flight suggested danger. Yet within a few hours, all 5 aircraft would disappear without a trace. No wreckage would ever be found. No survivors would ever return. And nearly 80 years later, the mystery remains unsolved. This is the story of Flight 19. At 2:10 p.m., 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers departed from Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station in Florida. The squadron consisted of 14 men led by Lieutenant Charles Taylor, a veteran pilot with extensive combat and flight experience. The mission was straightforward. The pilots would fly east over the Atlantic Ocean, conduct a bombing exercise, continue north for a set distance, and then turn back toward Florida. It was a route that had been flown countless times before. Nobody expected anything unusual to happen. For the first hour, everything went according to plan. The bombing exercise was completed successfully. The aircraft maintained formation. Radio communication remained normal. Then, shortly after 3:30 p.m., something changed. A radio operator received a strange transmission from Lieutenant Taylor. His voice sounded uncertain, concerned, even frightened. "Both my compasses are out." The operator immediately paid attention. Losing one compass was unusual. Losing both was a serious problem. But Taylor's next words were even more alarming. "I'm not sure where we are." Imagine hearing that. A highly trained military pilot flying over familiar waters suddenly had no idea of his location. The ocean stretched endlessly below. The sky appeared normal. Yet somehow he was lost. Ground controllers attempted to help. They instructed Taylor to turn west. If he flew west, he would eventually reach Florida. Simple. At least, it should have been. But Taylor wasn't convinced. He believed he was somewhere else entirely. He reportedly thought the squadron had drifted over the Florida Keys instead of the Atlantic. If he was correct, turning west would send the planes farther out to sea. If he was wrong, turning west would save them. The problem was that nobody knew which possibility was true, and every minute that passed brought them closer to disaster. As the afternoon continued, radio transmissions became increasingly disturbing. Taylor reported that the ocean didn't look right. The landmarks he expected to see were gone. Nothing matched his navigation charts. Then came one of the most chilling messages associated with the case. "We can't tell where west is. Everything is wrong. Everything is wrong." Those words would echo through aviation history. What exactly did he mean? Were the compasses malfunctioning? Had weather conditions created confusion? Or was something else happening high above the Atlantic Ocean? The squadron continued flying. Fuel levels steadily dropped. The sun began sinking toward the horizon. Darkness approached. Inside the cockpits, tension grew. Some of the other pilots reportedly questioned Taylor's decisions. Several believed they should simply turn west and trust the direction. But military discipline required them to follow their leader. So they remained together, flying deeper into uncertainty. Back on the ground, radio operators desperately attempted to guide them home. Signals faded in and out. Static interrupted conversations. Sometimes the aircraft sounded close. Moments later, they seemed impossibly distant. The situation became increasingly chaotic. Then another message arrived, one that suggested the pilots understood the seriousness of their situation. When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we all go down together. The reality was becoming impossible to ignore. Fuel was running out. The ocean below was vast, and night was falling. As darkness spread across the Atlantic, communication became weaker. The final transmissions were fragmented and difficult to understand. Then, one by one, the voices disappeared. Silence replaced them. Flight 19 was gone, but the mystery was only beginning. The Navy immediately launched a massive search operation. Aircraft were dispatched, ships spread across the ocean, rescue teams worked through the night. Then something unbelievable happened. One of the rescue aircraft vanished too. A Martin PBM Mariner carrying 13 crew members took off to search for Flight 19. Shortly after departure, it disappeared, just vanished. No distress call, no explanation, nothing. Now there were 6 missing aircraft and 27 missing men. The search operation expanded dramatically. For days, crews scoured thousands of square miles of ocean. They searched coastlines, remote islands, shipping lanes, every possible location. Nothing was found. No debris, no oil slicks, no floating wreckage, no bodies. It was as if the aircraft had simply been erased. Newspapers quickly picked up the story. The public became fascinated. How could 6 aircraft disappear without leaving a single trace? The mystery only grew larger over time. Eventually, the disappearance became one of the most famous cases linked to a region known as the Bermuda Triangle. The Bermuda Triangle is an area stretching roughly between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. For decades, stories have claimed that ships and aircraft mysteriously vanish within its boundaries. Some people believe strange magnetic forces exist there. Others suggest time distortions, alien activity, even portals to another dimension. Flight 19 became the centerpiece of these theories. After all, if experienced military pilots could disappear without explanation, what else might be possible? But investigators continued searching for more realistic answers. Some experts believe Taylor simply became disoriented. If he mistakenly believed he was over the Florida Keys rather than the Atlantic Ocean, every navigation decision afterward would have been wrong. The squadron may have unknowingly flown farther out to sea while fuel levels decreased. Eventually, the aircraft would have been forced to ditch in rough water. The Avengers were heavy aircraft. Landing on an ocean at night would have been extremely dangerous. The planes likely sank quickly after impact. Others point to weather conditions. Although the day began clear, conditions reportedly worsened later. Strong winds may have pushed the aircraft off course. Cloud cover may have hidden important landmarks. Combined with compass issues and confusion, the result could have been catastrophic. These explanations sound reasonable. Yet one question remains. If 6 aircraft crashed into the ocean, why was nothing ever found? Modern technology has recovered wreckage from accidents far older than Flight 19. Yet despite decades of searching, the mystery remains largely unsolved. Some researchers claim pieces of several aircraft have been discovered over the years. Others dispute those findings. No evidence has ever conclusively solved the case, and that uncertainty is exactly why the story refuses to die. Because people are drawn to mysteries that leave something unanswered. We want explanations. We want closure. We want the final piece of the puzzle. Flight 19 never gave us that. Instead, it left behind radio transmissions, questions, and a silence that has lasted nearly 80 years. Somewhere beneath the waters of the Atlantic Ocean, the truth may still exist. Perhaps the wreckage lies hidden on the ocean floor, waiting to be discovered. Perhaps Future technology will finally reveal what happened that December afternoon. Or perhaps Flight 19 will remain one of history's greatest mysteries. A routine training mission. 5 aircraft. 14 men. 1 search plane. 27 lives. And a disappearance so complete that even today nobody can say with certainty what happened after those pilots reported that everything was wrong. And maybe that's the most unsettling part of all. Not that Flight 19 disappeared, but that, after all these years, we still don't know where it went.